Hi, I'm Bob.Woolverton, your Northwest Realty Advisor, and how are you on this fine day? Me? I'm doing awesome. We had an exceptional summer here in the Pacific Northwest. We're headed into fall, which also looks great. And for me today, I don't have to do very much talking. I did an interview with a local mortgage broker named Julee.Moore, who I highly respect. So Julie is going to give us some words of advice. So that's our episode today on Northwest Realty Advisor, words of advice from a mortgage broker. Okay, so when it comes to mortgage brokers, there's only two mortgage brokers that I even bother to recommend. And then there's one huge bank that I tell everybody steer away from. Of course, I'm not going to give that name in the video because they're so huge and I don't want to get sued. But I do tell my clients, steer away from this one particular bank. So if you work with me, you'll know who that is. But on the positive side, like I say, there's two mortgage brokers that I work with, and the number one is Julee.Moore. And the reason I do that is because her heart and her ethics are in the right place, and her record of performance for every transaction that I'm aware of and that my wife has worked with her, closing on time 100% of the time. And that is so vitally important because on closing day, there's so many logistics in place, whether it's movers and getting out of one house and into the next house, getting your kids into the new school. There's just a myriad of logistics. And if your mortgage company doesn't close on time or there's a delay, it throws a monkey wrench into everything and it is just a huge mess. So Julie's record, as far as I know, is 100% closing on time. And that's one of the reasons that I recommend her. Now, when we look at her website here, Julee.Moore here in Bothell, the other thing that she does is she surveys all of her clients afterwards. And you'll see right here on her website, on a scale of 1 to 10, she gets an overall rating of 9.3, overall rating of 9.8 from realtors, and 97% of her clients say they'd likely or extremely likely to recommend her to a friend or family member, and 99% of realtors extremely likely to recommend her. And of course, again, I'm in that category. So I'm going to stop talking. Let's get words of advice from Julee.Moore. Now, I do have one caveat that I have to tell you about. We did have technical difficulties when we recorded this interview, and our audio track failed us. So I had to do a lot of manipulation and post-production trying to save the audio quality, so it is not of the best quality. And near the end, it got so bad, I had to resort to subtitles. So that's what that's all about. I apologize in advance for those technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll still salvage some value out of this interview.
I think the number one thing first-time home buyers need to know about getting a mortgage is actually all the costs. And I mean the costs from not only closing costs such as title, escrow, appraisal, those kinds of costs, but also your prepaids. You know, you're prepaying a full year of homeowners insurance. You're prepaying generally 6 months worth of property taxes into your escrow account, and days of interest. All that on your average loan can be $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, and people are generally thinking just about their down payment. And then again, also their payment is, you know, they've looked at principal and interest payments online, but they haven't necessarily considered their homeowners insurance. They haven't considered their property taxes, if there's homeowners dues, or if there's mortgage insurance. Generally, all those things add up to another bit that they're surprised at. You know, the best place I would say to find out what the costs are really are to just start the pre-approval process, because in part your costs, your interest rate, your loan program depend on your credit scores and your down payment. And so you really just need to take the time to apply and let your lender run your credit and get all your documentation in, and then when you meet, all that information should come out at that time. The difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. Pre-qualified in this market actually means almost nothing. The lender hasn't seen the borrower's bank statements, they haven't seen the borrower's pay stubs, they haven't done a verification of employment. All they have is what the borrower put on their application. And if anything in that application isn't correct or doesn't check out, then it's really not worth the paper that it's printed on. So a pre-approval letter or pre-approval, the lender should have already done the verification of employment, has gotten all their documentation, and run their loan through what's called an automated underwriting system. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both have an automated underwriting system, so that basically they truly have a preliminary pre-approval and can go in and make a solid offer. Generally, a pre-approval, the timeline, again, it depends a lot on the borrower, but for us, if we get a loan application in, I ask the borrowers to give us 24 hours to run their credit, give them a list of documentation that we'll need, and run their loan through automated underwriting system. So if as quickly as they can get their documentation into us, we can do pre-approval for them. If we met in the line at the grocery store and you were asking who would you use for a home loan, I'd absolutely tell you that you should work with someone who's local and reputable and can close your loan within 30 days, that is communicative and knows what they're doing, and particularly in multiple offer situation, it matters to the listing agent who your lender is, and they will it will make a difference whether you get your home loan or get the home or not. If a client gets their mortgage through Caliber Home Loans, we retain and service almost all of our loans. So if it's an FHA loan or a conventional loan, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and some jumbo loans, VA loans, we retain those. We retain the servicing of those loans. There are some jumbo loans and some loans that we can broker out that we don't retain the servicing of. But it is an important question to ask as a borrower who will be servicing your loan, because there are servicers out there that are really difficult to work with, and not only difficult to work with, but oftentimes once your loan is sold, it continues to be sold again and again and again, and that is just really could be a pain with setting up auto pay again and again with someone new. What I think I enjoy most about helping people get home loans is they are buying a home and they're providing a home for their family. And the statistics are really interesting, but people who own homes are more stable. Owning a home is the quickest way to build wealth in the United States. With the market that we're in right now, if you bought a home a couple of years ago, generally speaking, you've made money on that home. And it's really, really fulfilling. And I will say that most of my clients have turned into friends because we just have been on a journey together, and it's a lot of fun. One of the things that we try to do when we're meeting our clients for the very first time, we give them a form up front. It's a mortgage planner, but it's how long do they plan on staying with their home? Is what's the most important thing about their home? Is it a small mortgage payment? Is it a home that they can go into? Is it strictly for investment purposes? Do they have a good financial planner? Do they have a good insurance agent? Do they have a good CPA? And if the answer is no, and this is a need in their life, we definitely try to connect them with people who are experts in their field and can help our borrowers. So we're really looking out as much as possible for not only their home financing needs, but their short and long-term financial goals.
So that was my friend Julee.Moore with her words of advice. I hope you found value in today's video. And if you did, please click the subscribe button. That gives me feedback that we are hitting the target, that we're hitting the bullseye and finding things of value for you. And then that way you also get notified every time we post a new video. And if you know somebody else that could benefit from this information, forward the link to them and ask them to subscribe. So if you liked the video today, click the subscribe button. If you didn't like the video today, click the subscribe button. I'm Bob Woolverton, your Northwest Realty Advisor. We've got a new video every week. We'll see you next week.